So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Shout out to all of you who are at the roulette today, and those people who are online. I roll my eyes a lot. Oh, okay, because I was like, I can usually talk loud, but okay. I roll my eyes a lot, so if you can see me and you see me roll my eyes, that's why everybody's laughing. I'm trying to get myself grounded. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Okay, so let me do the first beginning of the intro. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nytasha Obasi. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I wear a lot of hats at Forefront. I'm not going to talk about that today. When you see me around, you just know that's one of the other hats. But I'm coming to you today as part of the preaching team. I think that this might be my 5th sermon overall. Yeah, I'm getting up there. I don't know what happened. And the 4th sermon in the Higher Love sermon series. It's actually the 3rd. One of them was like the storytelling one was a runoff, but you get what I'm saying. I wasn't planning on doing this sermon, so we're just gonna roll with it and see what happens. I was grateful at first that they didn't ask me to do one about being nice to people. About the, building the relationship and respecting other people and, all the things that go along with that, with the code of conduct. But then when they told me that I was supposed to do one about breaking up, I was like, oh, are you kidding? My first sermon was trying to convince myself not to cancel people. Now you want me to do something about someone who could possibly have wronged me and not get rid of them out of my community? Yeah, that's gonna be fun. So I actually said, this doesn't apply to me, right? Because it's how to remain civil when the relationship ends and you still have to see them, right? It doesn't apply to me because basically in my entire adult life, with the exception of my wife, all of my romantic relationships have been independent of my social community, which is something I realized when I started writing this. That was intentional. It's been intentional my entire life. They were never intertwined. And in the few times that people who I was dating met my social group, I wasn't all that invested in either group. So it was easy for me to just let the person go or let the community go. So I was like, I don't have a personal story to connect to this. I'm gonna write about, Ross and Rachel from Friends, because we all saw how that breakup went and how they managed to.
We were on the break.
Yeah, they were on a break where they pitted each of the group of people against each other, and it was like all this gossiping about it. So I was journaling, and I was like, I'm gonna write about that because everybody can relate to that. And while I was journaling about this, I remembered an event that I attended a few months ago. It was a housewarming party for one of my old coworkers. Now, I'm very close to this coworker, and I would have never even considered not attending this event, right? But I felt anxious about going to the party because I didn't know who else was going to be there. When I got to the party, there were some other people who attended that were from the job that I used to work at. It was nice to see them, but it also brought up an overwhelming feeling of loss. And I was surprised by this. So this is what we're going to talk about. I was at the nonprofit that I worked at for almost 10 years. That was the longest job I'd ever stayed at. While I was there, I started a group of Black coworkers supporting each other in an organization that was predominantly white.
Okay.
And I guess it's nice to note that the majority of the work that the nonprofit did was in countries where 99% of the people were people of color. We would get together and talk about navigating the politics of being in a corporate office and the microaggressions that we had to deal with. And at the time, I was one of the very few, I think there was maybe 5 out of all of the people who worked in corporate, people of color that were in a management position. Over the years, we became more than coworkers. We became friends. We celebrated each other's achievements and supported each other's during times of crisis. These were people who celebrated with me at my wedding. And although there were many different groups, shout out to my book club, at my wedding, this was especially important because these are the people who kept me from screwing up my relationship with my now wife. We would get together and discuss text messages and communications that have happened and like my burn it all down mentality against what would be more helpful for my relationship with Mary and what did I really want and like thinking about my emotions and all that other stuff that I try to avoid. And it's also important to know that I'm the one who started the group. I saw the need and I reached out to everybody. I lovingly named this community the Black Caucus. And for some of you who may have heard stories about it, you may have heard me actually talk about the Black Caucus. This was my community. I reached out to them, I held get-togethers. Even when I left the company, I checked in and went to events. I still attended everything. I invited them to my events, some of them have been to church, and attended many of theirs. All their social events, parties, birthdays, everything. Then something happened. There was a break and a falling out between one of the members and I. And she stopped speaking to me. I considered us close. And she was one of the people that I hung out with on a regular basis outside of the group. Our relationship mattered to me, even though I understood not at the time, but later on why it needed to end. After that, the next time I went to an event, it was different. And this is from the blurb. I entered the room and I immediately felt the temperature drop. Then came the fake excitement and the hellos, the awkward hugs, the uncomfortable banter, the side glances between me and this member who had, now I know, villainized me. Now, I'd love to say that I was always the great person who never spoke ill will of anybody else, but we all know that that's not true for people. So I'm not gonna do that here. There was enough throwing shame to go around, but I wasn't aware that that had penetrated the community in which I loved. After that, I avoided going to the events where I knew she would be at, and ended up leaving the community altogether. It was a place that I once felt so welcome, and now it was a place of confusion and pain. This is not a romantic breakup, but it was a breakup nonetheless, and a painful one for me. So when I started looking at this question that had been handed to me to do a sermon on, I was like, how could we have handled this better? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so y'all ready?
Yeah.
So what does the Bible say about breakups and dating? Yeah, I'll wait. Right? Nobody can remember, right? Because there's nothing. Everybody's like blank stare. Okay, I got you. That's what happened to me too. Bible doesn't mention modern dating or breakups. It offers vocabulary for reconciliation, forgiveness, covenant, and conflict, but much less for healthy separation. And when I say healthy separation, I don't mean that the breakup between two parties was mutual or amicable. When I say a healthy separation, I mean a relationship ended with someone not making an enemy out of the other person.
Okay.
Now, I know this isn't easy, because when someone feels hurt, they don't want to be around the person. And again, I did the sermon on cancel culture, so you know where I stand on this. And it's even worse when it's someone that sermon was on a neighbor of my father. I didn't know that person. I mean, I saw him, but this is someone that I personally am connected to. That either I hurt or they hurt, or maybe we didn't hurt, but like we don't like each other anymore. And that's a little bit more tricky, right? So I'm gonna start with a verse, and we don't have slides, so at some point I will put it all in the chat or whatever. But I'm gonna read from Romans 12, verse 18. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Now, peace is not, it's like one of those words of, everybody be in peace, kumbaya. Yeah. It's something we pursue. It's not something that we can just turn on a switch, right? And we can't manufacture mutuality. We can't get the other person to do that, right? This gives us room to talk about what we actually need and what we actually need and what we're willing to give to that person who we've had a separation from. Basic dignity, honesty, appropriate boundaries, and restraint from retaliation. But we don't have to give them friendship or access to ourselves. Emotional caretaking or reconciliation. And I was like, okay, that all sounds great. Are there any instances of this in the Bible? Yeah, good luck. There were very few, and the one that came up the most when I was doing my research was the relationship between Paul and Barnabas. Okay. And I'll be reading about it from Acts 15, verses 36 through 41. And I'm just going to read it pretty quickly. Sometime later, Paul said to Barnabas, let us go back and visit the believers in all the towns where we preach the word of the Lord and see how they are doing. Barnabas wanted to take John, also called Mark, with them, but Paul did not think it was wise to take him because he had deserted them in, I don't know how to say that, Pamphylia, and had not continued with them in the work. They had such a sharp disagreement that they parted company. Barnabas took Mark and sailed to Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and left, commended by the believers to the grace of the Lord. He went to Cyrus and Cilicia, whatever, strengthening the churches. It doesn't matter if I say it right or not. All right, so basically when I read this, I was like, all right, so they had a disagreement about who needed to be in their crew, right? But up until this point, they were tight. Like if you read other parts of the Bible, they were thick as thieves. They were tight, right? They were working in God's ministry, in community, and important work to do together. Then they have an argument. I keep thinking of the Will Smith song. They had a fallout, an argument, and my mom got scared, like part of that song. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Yeah, brain is all over the place. They had an agreement so severe that they separated. Now, of course, like all the other things in the Bible, they don't give you any details. They don't tell us like what the split meant, and if they like went to blow, like we got nothing. They separated. That's what they tell us. They don't tell us if either one of them was right or wrong. There's no side choosing. They simply say they go their different ways. And they both continue participating in the larger movement. In the commentaries that I researched, it was even indicated that they worked together again later in the ministry. So how do we do this? How do we keep our peace and protect our heart when a relationship has ended, but we still belong to the same community? I have some examples or some suggestions. And this is gonna wrap right into building boundaries. Funny that that was also a sermon of mine. It's interesting how this works, huh? Number one, keep details private. Now, I know that I'm gonna be talking to a silent group for a little bit. That's all right. I can talk to myself. When I used to go to church, when everybody got silent, when they like hit something home, he'd be like, "Come on, light, say amen," because nobody else would.
Come on, light, say amen.
So, keep details private. Share the details of your relationship with. Share deep, raw facts only with a few trusted, neutral mentors outside of the immediate circle. That means we, what is there, like 30 people in? No, more than that. We don't all need to know what's going on in your relationship.
Amen.
We're all part of the same community.
Preach.
But do we need to know everything?
Yes.
Communicate needs early. Tell mutual friends what you need from them. Okay? Directly, instead of waiting for the tension to build. Request neutral zones. Ask your friends not to take sides or act as messengers between you and the person that you have now separated from. I can give you a thing to say. Just like, Paul might have said to whoever it was that he was going with, because I can't remember. You don't have to choose between us. Our breakup is between the two of us. And I want us to both keep a relationship. I want you to keep a relationship with both of us. Okay, here we go. Limit group gossip. Because we don't gossip, because this is a church, right? So we don't do gossip, right? Okay. Yeah. The light said, "Oh man." Gently stop conversations if friends bring up your ex's dating life or church activities. I value our friendship, but I am trying to heal, so I prefer not to talk about what me and Paul separated on, or know what they are up to. Plan group events. Check out who's attending large gatherings, so you can mentally prepare or choose to skip.
Yeah, go on that first one.
I want you all to hang out with Paul freely, but for now, I might sit this one out to give myself some space. That's on an individual basis. This is you talking to our community as yourself. But as the community, what can we do? So when two people break up in a close community, like a church, queer community, friend group, etc., everyone around them often feels pressure to choose sides, gather information, determine who was right, and decide which person gets to keep the community. Yeah. This doesn't happen here, though, right? So, this is stuff that you guys already know. As a Christian community, we can say instead, unless harm or abuse requires us to act, our job is not to turn every breakup into a trial. Both people can remain beloved members of the body. Now, I believe we can do this. I believe we can, right? So what can we do? Encourage the people involved to do the steps I mentioned earlier. If they don't do it, then we need to ask them to do it, right? To communicate, to avoid gossip, to keep private, to have neutral zones. And when they say that they have boundaries that are needed, respect them, honor them, and keep their boundaries. If they ask you to adjust the schedule so they don't volunteer together, just do it. Respect the boundary. Don't tell them, oh no, you should forgive and blah, blah. No, respect their boundary. This could mean alternating to going to different services. This could mean joining a different small group. Maybe not permanently, maybe just for the time being while they're healing, but honor what they're saying they need. Over time, the sting of a breakup may lessen, allowing them to share the space more comfortably. And we can be that support to both parties involved. The relationship that I have to this church community, who reminds me of that close-knit group I used to be a part of. Even more so because I now run a small group, which I was reluctant to do because of this. Maybe you feel that way too. Maybe you're reluctant to join something or be a part of something because of some type of harm that's happened in the past to you. Let's try to make different decisions in this community going forward. This was part of my history, and it continues to shape how I move through life now, and is especially important to me because I care so much about the community that I'm now a part of. I've had disagreements with people. I've had people tell me they don't want to be bothered with me anymore. But I'm assuming that I am not the only person that this has happened to. I hope that this sermon touches on what's needed in any community that you're involved in order to support both parties in the event of a breakup. And I'm gonna lead us into prayer. Lord, as we continue to build more personal relationships, both platonic and romantic, let us be mindful of how we treat each other. When or if those relationships end, let us resist the temptation to diminish the humanity of the person we once loved. As a church community, let us strive to make our community spacious enough to continue to hold those who can no longer hold each other. Amen.
Amen. Wow.